What is going on, guys? And today we are back in the mix. Playing a little Dirty Dozen 1020 today. It feels like it's been a little bit since I got recording in. Might try a new video here in the near future. We'll see how that goes. We'll get the games up here in a second, too. Just wanted to make sure my recording and everything else was working correctly. Playing a little PLO cap, 40 big blind. $200 cap in the 1020, so basically 10x the big blind. Probably a good card for me here. I'm going to bet 3/4 on the turn here. It's Josh Libbs. I don't think this helps him too much. This card, I think, does. If I'm going to probably bet to try to get him to fold anything here, I probably should bet pot. But I think I'm just going to give up the fact that he called me on the turn. He does bet pot, and I'm just going to go ahead and check fold. Like, Josh shouldn't have too many 3/5s. He could have some 5/7s here. I think that's possible. But I think just given this board and the fact that I'm a big blind, I decided to take a shot at the turn. Queen Jack 4/5 here. Do a ton of limping with our range. I expect the big blind here to raise a fair bit. And again, like if that's the case, then we do a ton of trapping. We'll probably like limp way too much, but I think this hand is just going to be a fold against the limp pot. It's probably close. It's probably a hand that I want to look up a little later bit. 10-10-40 is just going to be a fold. But as always, if you guys like what you see, please like and subscribe. If you guys are looking to open a Phenom account, there's a link below, or when you sign up, use code LMG. Questions or comments, you can put them in the comments, or you can email me at learnmixgames@gmail.com. I saw Chris put out another video today, so always go visit his site at Death Donkey. It's on YouTube, so at Death Donkey. He's always doing some like GTO limit stuff right now. But as you can see, we're playing PLO cap, Badacey A-5, Razz, no limit single draw, limit 8, limit hold'em, 7-card stud, Badacey just a 7, no limit Badoogie, stud 8, deuce to 7, triple draw. Again, I always like this mix because I think it's definitely one of the better mixes to consider. I would say like somewhat training for the World Series. This is, I think, is rather close. I think I'm gonna muck this one up. Probably with most ace-high suits, it's probably okay. But there also is a threat of like the pot behind with a lot of the hands that if you would theoretically call with and then could theoretically call a repot with. Well, now I look like a genius, but I don't know if this was right again, so we're gonna have to look this probably one up later. I think both spots are totally fine. I think clever hands fine. This is in Solar World, that's probably okay. Ace Queen 3/4 here is gonna definitely be an open. We prefer to have the Queen high suit, but we'll still take this combo. But yeah, the threat of the pot bet in this game is a little bit different because you can make it a lot bigger. I still think with the double suited combo of this is we probably see the flop. Definitely with the ace queen 3/4 with the suited queen we see the flop, but I think double suited here I still think we take it in position and then stack off basically with most anything. Well, it's gonna be one I guess we stack off with. You should bet pretty small is my guess. Yeah, that seems like relatively fine. I'm gonna jam it here though, I think, just in case he's got a flush draw and he has to call it off too. Yeah, something like that. And we hold that one. Get another one that we're just gonna check later, but I still think calling with the double suited combo is probably okay. But again, this game's slightly different because of the 5x pot size bet. And now we're on to Badacey. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is the best low. 4, 3, 2 ace, or 1 is what I like to call it, is the best Badoogie. This is a no qualifying split pot game, meaning at all times there are 2 pots basically. There's going to be an ace to 5 pot that's going to get half, and there's going to be a Badoogie that's going to get half. So in these games, you're always kind of like looking to build your hand from the bottom up, and the reason being is because if you don't make a Badoogie, the best 3 card's going to win. So if you have something like ace deuce 3, a lot of times when you get to showdown, if no one has doogie, or if you're heads up with someone, you're usually going to get half. Well, if no one has Badoogie, you have the best 3 cards, so the best 3 cards going to get half. And that's usually why it's important to kind of build your hand from the bottom, because if you start like kind of middling, like 4, 5, 6, you know, if you get in like big pots, you really still can't put too much action in, even if you make like a hand like a 6-6, just because you have one of the worst 6-6s. And again, when you start getting in raising wars, your range narrows really quick, or your opponent's range narrows really quick to either like bluffing and or good hands. But we've definitely talked about in the past that it just gets really expensive for your opponent to just blast it off or for multiple bets. So that hand just called with a queen with 3 card 7. Wow. All right. Now here's an interesting one too, where we have like the 3, 3, 4, 5, but this hand blocks both. Roger calls, Josh opens. I'm actually going to 3-bet this one given my blockers in the small blind. I know I'm out of position, but I think I'm pushing some equity, especially against a cold call, unless this is somehow a trap. So 3 of spades, 5 of diamonds are my discards. Again, like I did make notice here, but it does go 2, 2, 2. I'm going to check out a position when I don't improve. I've seen an 8, a 7, a 3, and a 5. It does check around. Still just going to draw 2 out of position here. If this was Badacey, I'd probably pat this hand. To make the 5 Badoogie with the ace. So I'm going to go ahead and try check raise this spot. Oh, it checks around again, which is a little unfortunate. Probably should just go for a bet raise here, but I try to get a little bit fancy. And we make on the river and it goes 2-2, so we're still going to bet the 5 Badoogie, and it goes fold. Kind of a crazy run out that no one put a bet in there. Obviously, I made a 5 on the second draw. Try to get a little bit tricky just in case they thought there was some fold equity. But I guess we'll take it. Ace 3-5 here, again, kind of the similar situation. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet. Here we do throw away the club, and the reason why we throw away the club versus the 3 of diamonds. And we do 3-bet again because I think like Roger's range is probably a little bit wide. Bet folds, which is crazy. So he most likely had like a rough Badoogie. But the reason we're going to throw away the 3 of clubs is because we have the 10 of diamonds over here. So if we have extra equity, and he does take 3, which is interesting. So if we catch the 10 of clubs, we'll make a Badoogie, but the 10 of diamonds is now dead. So this is a situation where we want to throw away the other suit that was 1, 3. This is kind of close. I think I do have some traps. So I've seen an extra 3, seen an extra ace. It does go 1-1. Kind of interesting. But I would attempt to raise some turns here with like really good Badoogies. All Josh paths we're probably going to break, not love it. But higher EV in the hand by breaking as opposed to buying. Josh has a hand he really shouldn't have, but it's kind of the nature of the game. I don't think his hand pre-flop is most likely a cap. He's out of position drawing 2. He does get bet to fold, but he usually never has the best hand in that situation. And kind of patting the 9 Badoogie, like he probably has to do it, given the fact that he has a 9 Badoogie. But if he had a 9 with like a 5 Badoogie, he should just break out of position. But if I can go back to that hand really fast. In this spot, let's go back real briefly. So we'll make the 8. We'll make the 8 here, and Josh bets and Roger calls. The parlay of us winning by patting the 8 here, I think is not necessarily that great. Plus, if we draw in this situation, I still think like increase our EV. Plus, if we make a big hand, we get to raise. So I think a lot of those added situations make our hand pretty easy break, I would say. Let's see what we got next. We got Ace of 5 Razz, single draw capped. Now they're going at it. Now we're putting in some action today. Hopefully you guys listened to the, again, I put another hand history review out with Chris on Limit Omaha 8 or better. So we did 5 hands review with Chris. Go watch that one. Let's see. Phenom had their first leaderboard week, and it was actually a pretty big success. It starts out like a $500 leaderboard. It built all the way up to 3,000 with a fair bit of action on the site. I think they've definitely had their best previous week, I think ever. So yeah, site's building up. A lot of games going on. And if you want to learn and get in the mix, sign up and jump on in. Interesting. Josh took one and showed up with that hand. My guess is Josh probably had the Jack Badoogie and made a 6 on the river, given that action. I want to go back to that hand in a minute, but if the 8 opens here, we're going to defend the 7. Against 2 players, we're going to fold here. Against bet, this is probably like a relatively close defend. Reverse implied odds aren't necessarily that great. Price is good, and he's probably stealing wide. But I want to go back really quick to this hand. So Josh here probably had something like the Jack Badoogie, because I don't think he ever threw a raise in there. Because he definitely should be raising a 6 Badoogie. So my guess is he probably patted the Jack. Now, the problem with patting the Jack in this situation is Ace Deuce 3 is effectively the same hand as a Jack Badoogie, and you cannot scoop if your opponent pats. So in this situation, if he's drawing on the river, which I think he did, I think he took 1. So if that's the case, so he raised 4 or 5. He takes 3, takes 2, calls, takes 1. So most likely his hand there was the Jack Badoogie at showdown. Let's just go see the hand. I'll go back. So yeah, if Josh had the Jack Badoogie here, his Ace Deuce 3 is effectively the same hand, and he cannot win the Ace to 5. So he's basically if you're gonna call with a 3 card there or a Jack Badoogie, it's basically the same thing. You should just draw 2 again, because if you're gonna call with a Jack Badoogie, it's the same thing as calling with Ace Deuce 3, meaning that you need to give yourself the best chance to scoop the pot. And if you pat the Jack in a situation where your opponent's pat against 2 players, you are effectively drawing dead for half. So in that situation, yeah, Josh definitely should have just taken 2 again. The king brings in. I thought the Jack was going to bring it in. We're just going to fold this 4-6-6. If the roles were reversed, I think I would go for a steal here with the 4-6-6 and the 6, given our opponent has a 5 up. But I'm not going to try to get through 2 people. Let's see. Okay, so if you guys are watching this, PGT, so the mixed games start this week. I'll be doing I'll be in the chat if it's on YouTube, just kind of watching in the background a little bit while I'm doing some other things. But yeah, go check out the PGT. The 5K mixed games, 10, 15. There's a 25, and then there's a 100K. And Chris Vitch is doing the commentary for the 100K this year, but for some weird reason, fold the 398. If we were heads up, I would probably defend here, but this hand's pretty rough, especially given the fact that the majority of the cards out there we need to make our low hand. But there's a 100K, and they haven't really done too much in promotion for the event. And Chris and Alex Livingston are doing the commentary the entire time, I think. So if you guys have a PokerGo account, or if you're on YouTube, I would definitely recommend going to watch it. Check it out. not quite sure of the rules, but I don't think I can. I was gonna theoretically maybe do some like hand reviews in some spots, but I think the copyright won't let me do it. So, um, we'll see. Wow, Josh is still calling, huh? Wow. See, like Josh gets sticky there because Josh on Fifth Street should probably fold 100% of his hands. Only a single draw cap. When you're facing against, this is just like a sign of like a player that gets a little bit too sticky. So if we start this hand over again, play, go to 4th Street. So he calls with a 4, and I don't know if Josh has a read, basically saying like he didn't re-raise me, so his hand is probably like somewhat weak. But the problem is sorry, his hand was Ace 3-4 against 3 King 8. Well, this is an interesting one with the 10 here, but we're definitely going to be re-raising with the 10 out of position, especially against the limp. So we're going to go a little bit smaller, but this is just such an isolation raise, like so much of the time. So, and my guess is given the fact that I don't have a lot of the low cards here, like the 2s, 3s, and 4s, if I get jammed on, I probably have to call this hand. The reason being is he more likely has a draw. And we've put a decent bit of money in. Now, this is a situation where like I do have technically a wheel draw, but I'm not going to re-raise. I'm just going to go ahead and call this one. And this also protects my range. So I do have the straight draw in this situation. And if I do hit a deuce, I make a really strong hand. I wouldn't call here with the open-ended straight draw, but I will call here with this specific combination. And then if I hit like a deuce, like I get paid off pretty nicely, I would say. But their implied odds are obviously really good, especially in a 5-way pot somehow. And I think a lot of people would assume that my draw is like somewhat rough, given the fact. Now it's kind of interesting. It goes 2-2-2, pat 2, and I make a 9. So I think actually in this situation here, like I should be doing a fair bit of betting. It's gonna be hard for me to fold my hand if he jams, just because like everyone just drew, and we went against the 10-8. Wondering about my sizing there. My sizing's probably fine, but I might want to make it a little bit bigger. But going back to the hand before, like I think since I'm unblocking like the 2s, 3s, and 4s, it's more likely that my opponent has a pretty strong draw. So if I get jammed on, I probably have to call it off with 10-9. Especially since like his raise was more like he wanted to isolate Josh more often than not. 3, 4, 5, 6 queen. Again, it's a pretty weak draw. If you're in position on the button, you can probably get away with opening this hand, but the straight draws are just so brutal just because if you make the straight, your equity is basically 0. And it kind of like, I would say in some ways it doesn't matter, but what's the best hand I can make here? 8-6, 9-6, which are okay. The click back raise here is very strange. And I mean, if he clicks it back here, he should be pat, and he usually has like a really, really strong hand here. So interesting. Like, I don't understand the click back min raise there. With a Jack 9 against that raise, I mean, usually what you do in that situation, unless you have like one of your worst jacks. So say like, what's the worst hand that your pat hand that you technically open there that isn't a bluff? So it might be a hand like that, but the raise sizing is, I think, just kind of poor. And the reason being is because this player in position here is never folding for an extra 30. So I think if he's going to re-raise, like he should probably make it bigger. And like he can just, you know, take like one of his worst jacks, basically like one of the, you know, hand that's technically has value, but just turn it into like a 3-bet bluff. All right, limit Omaha 8 or better. Obviously, best game ever made in the history of poker. High hand's going to scoop if there's not a low out. Low, you need 3 cards. You need to qualify. Now, this is where we talk about the qualifying low. You need 3 cards, 8 or under on the board, unpaired. And if you qualify, you have the only low, you'll get half. Either than that, the best low will win. It is an ace to 5 low. So 5, 4, 3, 2 ace is the best low. I've said it many times. Josh limps here. We're just going to check the jack 9, 9, 6. This hand is pretty rough. And we're just going to most likely check fold this flop because these deuces, I think, are a hand that Josh would bet a lot. And we do make a full house on the river, but I don't think I'm betting 9s. And we do scoop. Let's say if Josh bets river, I mean, I guess there's a lot of higher pairs that he might limp with. But he probably raises all aces, probably raises all kings. Have a jack in my hand, so if he had bet the river, not quite sure if I would call there or not. Probably be okay. Deuce 3, 10 jack rainbow here. It's kind of 10-3, like 10-3, 10 jack deuce 3 is kind of I would say a kind of an underrated hand, but the rainbow version of this hand is just a clear fold. What's interesting here is I've noticed bet, and this again tendencies that you want to pick up on your opponents, but definitely plays a lot of hands against Josh. Not saying that's a wrong thing, but definitely have to take it into account when making decisions if both players in the pot. Oops, pull that one. Interesting. I feel like this pot's getting pretty big pretty quick on a board with no low. Again, not like quite sure in limit games. Ace King Jack 8 here is close with the suited king. I'm not quite sure how tilted Roger is right now. I'm gonna make what I think is a tight fold. It's probably close. Again, my guess in general is if I'm playing Omaha here better and I feel like it's probably close, it's probably close. The reason being is I've just played so many Omaha hands. There's some high hands here that we could theoretically cold call with, but with the suited low card, my guess is we probably want to be doing more 3-betting, not gets us heads up. Now I look like a complete dummy because I folded my hand, but now I look like a complete genius because I interesting. Now I look like a complete genius. Josh betting that river with the queen high straight there is way too loose. A limp here from Roger. I'm not quite sure what this is, but I'm going to go ahead and raise the ace queen jack 6 here. And we get everyone. Queen high flush draw, so third flush draw on the flop plus gut shot. I think we can go ahead and check this one. I think this is like fine. If the 10 was on the board, I would probably go ahead and bet. Turn dues still have plenty of equity to continue against the bet. Definitely just going to go ahead and call here. And here comes everyone. And then board pairing, we're just going to give our hand up. Yeah, and just be done with it. And fold. Full house. And what did Roger have? He had king 5. Was that king 5, 5 deuce? Deuces are folding. They're going to limit hold'em. Again, there's a lot of information on limit hold'em out there right now. So if you yeah, king 5-5 deuce, this is extremely loose. This is and his hand on the turn, to be completely honest, is like probably closer to a I guess it's 5 ways, so he's probably doing just fine given the action. But I think sometimes you can even consider like checking this turn card, just because like his hand plays really bad on almost all rivers. If board pairs, he gets counterfeit. Flow gets there, he loses half. Flush gets there, he probably loses. Other high cards, he probably loses. It's like one of those spots where like you kind of have some